Prince William has reportedly taken charge within the royal family, particularly concerning Prince Harry, implementing what is described as an absolute ban on Harry's return in any capacity. According to sources, William has assumed the role of disciplinarian, previously held by the late Prince Philip. This authoritative stance includes William making key decisions and ruling the family with a rod of iron, akin to Philip's style. The move reflects a significant shift in family dynamics, highlighting William's influence and assertiveness in managing internal rifts and decisions involving Harry. Prince William's decision to ban Harry and not let him return to the royal family is very commendable and considered a correct and necessary action in the current context of the royal family. This shows William's decisiveness and strong leadership, while also showing respect and maintaining the traditional values of the royal family. By stepping up and taking on the role of family leader, William demonstrated his willingness to face internal challenges and manage family relationships responsibly. His ban on Harry also shows decisiveness, ensuring stability and focus in the royal family's activities, especially in important times like today. At the same time, this action also represents the protection of the unity and prestige of the royal family, helping to maintain the image and position of the nation in the eyes of the public and in the international community. William is highly appreciated for his leadership and management abilities, bringing consensus and support from members inside and outside the royal family. Meanwhile, Harry was stupid from a young age, weak and incompetent. Then he met and married a woman known as a poisonous snake. God gave birth to a couple who met and specialized in doing evil. Now Harry is just a pawn for Meghan to control and take advantage of. Only stupid people believe in doing evil things without retribution. If anyone watches my videos, they know how much I hate and annoy Harry and that woman. Meghan and Harry, thousands of dollars spent on clothes and private jets, while everyone else is working all hours, maybe in customer-facing roles in retail, in a factory, or spending hours on the phones in sales, or driving jobs with no toilet facilities and exposed to the elements. Or maybe an ambulance crew working 24/7 or 354 shifts under extreme stress. While Harry and Meghan are on permanent vacation, spending more in a week than people earn in a year, they still think Brits want to queue up and wave at them if they turn up. Just their grinning pics posted everywhere and all about what they want and what they deserve. Has anyone trashed the royal family as much as this man, lived a life of such absolute wealth and privilege, and then bit the hand that fed him by playing the victim? What was his allowance when he was in the royal family? $1 million a year from his dad and living in a royal grace and favor property. Hardly struggling to pay bills, gas and electricity like the public, is it? All you see is this toxic pair jetting around on holiday and chasing fame. There is a difference between fame and notoriety. They either don't seem to understand that or more probably don't care. I really feel disappointed and regret for King Charles. Why do I specifically mention King Charles and not the royal family? Because in reality Harry only makes his parents sad because he has an incompetent, careless and stupid child. But for both the royal family and the UK, Harry is just a grain of sand. He has no rights. Action, and what great impact it can have. Have you noticed that William's strength has really grown during the last few years with all of the problems thrown at him? Harry and Meghan's horrible acts and Charles and Kate's health battles. He has shown such courage and leadership. He is now a true force to be reckoned with. Harry should take note. Well done, Prince William. Save your family from any more hurt and embarrassment from the Montecito pair. Harry cannot seem to understand that after what he and his wife have said and done, why those they have insulted have no intention to forgive or forget. Both their families have now made it plain they have no wish to speak or hear from either of them again. If this had been 20 or so years ago, Philip would have been a couple of decades younger and still with us. Things would never have reached this stage. There would have been far more decisive action taken before now. They would have been well and truly exiled with all their titles stripped. He would have lost his princedom, Lord of the Sovereign, Counselor of State. Markle would have been no match for Philip. He would have sorted her out well and properly. Just like she's no match for William and Catherine. She showed pure fear during the walkabout following the late Queen's death. There's a great picture of Catherine giving her a death stare, and you can see the witch visibly cowering. Don't underestimate us. We do not know what actually happened behind the palace walls. Only a few of the misdeeds of the two have seen the light of day because the palace keeps a dignified silence in the old tradition. But what has been going on in public since the American actress stepped onto this stage is just horrific. I wish the couple would finally retire, keep quiet, and leave the royals alone. Forever. Should the Sussex squad want to turn this around and blame William on that score, then be aware that the Sandringham Agreement was in place when the Sussexes decamped for other shores. They signed it, and they were given a year's grace to reconsider stepping away. They chose not to reconsider. Now that agreement ensures there is no return to public life within the UK royal family. Their decision. They need to live with the consequences. However, no action of theirs since leaving is likely to make anyone regret their departure, particularly. One of the most reasonable theories I've read is that the discord started over the speed with which Harry married Meghan Markle. Both princes learned at a young age from the sad example of their own parents, Charles and Diana, how tragic it is when someone chooses to marry the wrong person, especially someone in the royal family. Charles did not marry a woman whom he truly loved, nor was Diana ready for the spotlight and responsibilities of being a member of the royal family. William did not want his own bride to suffer the same way his own mother did, so he took a great deal of time with Kate Middleton. They met in college, but he waited almost a decade to marry her. He made sure that she could handle royal life, and that she was truly the right choice. Harry, on the other hand, seems to have done the complete opposite with Meghan. They went from a blind date to living together to engaged to married in something like just 1 year. Basically, William didn't think that his younger brother put the same care and consideration into choosing a spouse that he did. And based on everything that's happened since Harry married, it looks like Big Brother was right. There's one thing I'm sure of: Meghan could not charm William and Catherine. They saw through her and were alarmed that Harry was being groomed and conned. William gently tried to warn Harry. Harry told Meghan, and she saw red. They were from that moment the enemy. I remember seeing him wipe tears from his eyes after leaving the Sandringham summit in his car when it was clear Harold would be leaving the family. It was like watching someone experiencing a bereavement. Since then, William has been completely stony, and at times you can sense the anger when he told a reporter that they were not a racist family. Quite a shocking comment to make in public, and I can imagine the late Queen would not have been happy with such an open display of his feelings. It would appear Harold is dead to William. He has moved on with his life, and I suspect things will get interesting for the Harkles once William becomes king, as he will not be the soft touch that Charles has been. That's right, William and Harry have always been separate entities. They are definitely not clones of each other in any way whatsoever. Of course, much has been made of the different lives into which they were born. William knew from the time he was a child that due to the circumstances of his birth, his life would never be his own. He was a future king, and that would define every aspect of his life. In the same way, Harry always knew that while he was also in the line of succession, he would in all likelihood never be king, and he would have more leeway in defining his life. Harry chafed against this and spent his early life rebelling with stupid stunts. For a while he seemed to mature while he was in the army, but once he left, he was once again just the spare. He fell in love and married a woman who had no interest in the royal family, their traditions or history. She was interested in what she could do, could be, could get. She encouraged Harry's dissatisfaction and unhappiness with his life. Now, we are at a place where Harry has decided to fight his family for everything he can extort from them, while wanting to leave any responsibilities he had for the family and the country behind. William is in the unenviable position of having to think more as a steward of his country than as the loving brother he is. So, right now, they are as separate and apart as they have ever been. Also, there's King Charles. Do you think he will cut ties with Harry and Meghan? I think the answer is yes. Senior royal staff do share important information with selected media outlets if the monarchy is under threat, and these events come from a highly credible source. It all kicked off when Charles asked Harry to come for tea at Highgrove, concerned with the avalanche of unsavory press generated by his new daughter-in-law and at times even by his own son. Since the death of Diana, Charles had always tried his best to act as a father, a guide, and yes, at times a mother to his two motherless charges. He taught them the ways of sustainable organic farming, how to grow and cook artichokes properly, the correct way to cultivate asparagus, and the right herbs to put into vegan sausages. He guided them through polo training, the proper way to wear a Seville rose suit and antique cufflinks. He even got them to be in the same room as Camilla on a regular basis without flashing killer death stares. William got a first as far as royal training went, and Harry, well, Harry was always just Harry, a flame-haired, lovable Nazi uniform-wearing rebel, beloved by his grandparents, the Queen and Prince Philip, and adored by the public. His launch of the Invictus Games sealed Harry's popularity. Then one day he announced that after years of dating bottle blondes, he was to marry not only an American but a feisty divorcee, who was also a TV actress, a brunette, and who even had an African-American mother. Charles, according to accredited sources, listened intently as Harry eulogized of having found the one, about Meghan's beauty, her intelligence, and her love of liberal causes and black people. He was clearly besotted. With his adulterous guilt weighing heavily on his heart, Charles himself simply wanted what was best for Harry. He went along with it, believing that if it was truly true love, then love triumphs over all, but he was apprehensive about the following: a divorcee, a brunette, a D-list actress, slave ancestry, and an American in full. He was so worried, in fact, that as Harry was leaping over the sofas with excitement, recounting his love, Charles stood almost motionless by the blazing log fire for almost an hour until his tight organic cotton polo breeches almost caught fire. He was only saved when one of his butlers entered, noticed Charles steaming behind, and doused the smoke with some water from a large glass vase which turned out to be a horse sample bottle, a whole other story in itself. Camilla was never a Meghan fan, according to senior Highgrove staff. The wedding came and went, and that's when the trouble started. Camilla, well known for never having done a proper day's work in her life, spent her time looking for dirt on the newest and brownest family member. With absolutely no interest to speak of, she spent her time surfing the net, compiling dossier after dossier on the new Duchess. Day after day she would sit in the orangery, a couple of tins of beer cooling nearby, with one of her servants trawling the net as per her instructions. One day she struck gold. She downloaded a mountain of information from popular and well-connected Russian influencers on the Duchess's fake pregnancy. Camilla then started her own detective work. She noted how Meghan could still wear high heels and do slack dance hall dance moves at family parties, whilst apparently pregnant. She was convinced she saw the Duchess swap out baby bump cushions when she thought no one was looking. Camilla watched as Meghan necked half a bottle of champagne after a particularly bad media review, and watched her deftly squat, straight-backed in 6-inch Christian Louboutins to pick up a 50-pence piece she found at Kensington Palace. All of this was relayed to Charles chapter and verse day after day, complete with internet cuttings and images. Not by text, of course, but by environmentally friendly, organic, rose-scented notepaper. She would scrawl on the detail in that childish handwriting of hers, seal the note with wax, add on a few watermelons or other inappropriate stickers, and carefully place it onto a waiting silver salver. She would wait with great anticipation and excitement for Charles's response, either from the adjacent blue reception room or from the gardens. Usually, her notes were greeted with distant screaming and shouting, followed by clanging as another silver salver hit the floor. Satisfied with her work, she would change for dinner into another heavily beaded gown, readjust her tiara, and reapply some ghastly red lipstick, usually onto her teeth. This is how it was from day one of the Sussexes' marriage. After a forest of notepaper and a sea of rose scent had been wasted, Charles could take no more. Camilla was adamant, though, all of it was true. He called Harry in for crisis talks. Although Charles was not sure that all of Cam's findings were actually kosher, he was obligated to share them with Harry to protect the monarchy. It did not go well. Apparently Harry grabbed the heir to the throne by the doubloons, attempting to drag him outside for a fight. Staff tried to intervene as Harry almost pushed Charles through the glass conservatory doors. Charles managed to disarm him with some well-aimed foie gras sandwiches to the face, but Harry's greater strength and youth saw Charlie pinned to a big Louis XIV desk by a hefty brass fire poker across the throat. It was mayhem. It took 3 servants and 2 security detail to prise Harry away, whose face was by now as red as his hair. Harry vowed to twat his father with the aforementioned poker if he ever spoke about Meghan like that again. That was it. The Sussexes were banned from Frogmore Cottage under the lame excuse of wanting to create their own household. The truth was much more telling. In fact, it was Charles who paid for the refurb at Frogmore as part of the deal, to hide them away and never mention the fight again. But it was Camilla who let it be known as a fact that it was the taxpayers who paid. Now that the rift and banishment are real, Camilla has had to find a new hobby as access to Meghan for now has been cut off. According to Highgrove staff, Camilla is often seen sitting amongst the dahlias in the orangery talking to Alexa to find out any new info, having full-on conversations and telling dirty jokes, with Alexa occasionally shouting out "you biatch" when Cam goes too far. According to long-serving loyal staff, there is so much more to come out that would rock the House of Windsor to its foundations. I personally can't wait. Given the circumstances of Harry's life before and after Meghan, it is not a shock at all that the brothers have come to this stage now. Not only has Harry alienated his brother, he has alienated much of the family in the way he has let things slide. He has alienated a good proportion of the public that was firmly erstwhile on his side. Of course, it is easy to lay the blame on Meghan and her interference, or as some are calling it, her game plan to take Harry away from the family. For many people, joining the royal family is a dream come true. But for Meghan Markle, it turned out to be a path that was full of mysteries and deceptions. However, her mentality appears to be unstable, and her intelligence is not very clear. As a result, after exerting a great deal of effort to achieve her objective of becoming a royal bride, she has the feeling that it is not enough. She feels that she must do something to defeat the royal with the intention of becoming a hegemon richer than the royal family. When it comes to grown-ups, Meghan is no longer as respectful as she once was. Instead, Meghan Markle behaves in a manner that is impolite and extremely disrespectful when she is in the presence of the royal family. So, here it is, the moment that everyone has been anticipating. It is well known that members of the royal family are known for their generosity and thoughtfulness, and they go to great lengths to embrace different points of view, regardless of how strange they may be. In other words, they value people for who and what they are, regardless of their circumstances. They have no intention of changing who they are. Nevertheless, a royal protocol has been formed over the course of thousands of years. The fact that they adhere to this particular set of internal principles has led them to the realization that everything works out smoothly. Following that, Meghan Markle entered the picture, an experienced single woman who has been through a lot in life, a significant portion of which has been spent in the gutter, is picked up by Harry at a pub and brought home. Harry is oblivious that this was all part of her ingenious scheme from the very beginning. It was William, his astute brother, who immediately recognized the dangers that not only Harry but the entire royal family were in danger of confronting. He advised Harry to break up with her in a way that was both gentle and firm. In the normal course of events, it would be extremely unusual for one royal to interfere in the life of another royal, and such an action would only be made in response to a perceived threat to the security of the monarchy. Without a shadow of a doubt, the Queen and Charles were informed about this elderly lady, who was brought into the royal household at the age of 80, and who had the potential to become a future His Royal Highness, if they did not exercise caution. It is without a doubt that a hastily conducted background check unearthed sufficient evidence to suggest that she was not suitable to hold the title of princess and to be referred to as Her Royal Highness. I have no doubt that the Queen made a request for a comprehensive report on her background after the initial results, which were probably a year or 18 months later. That report surely contained sufficient information to know everything there was to know about her. It appeared that Meghan maintained a decent level of behavior throughout the first year. Harry must have had a high opinion of her acting abilities because she appeared to be a vital addition to the royal family, and he managed to keep her by his side throughout her difficult life. In spite of the fact that the Queen and King Charles had allayed their concerns and were aware that Meghan was nothing more than garbage from the streets, Harry was allowed to make the announcement of his engagement to Meghan during that first year. It is imperative that this take place before the Queen is provided with a detailed assessment of Meghan herself. In the midst of all of this trouble that was about to begin, Harry involved himself. In order to treat anxiety-related disorders, Harry has spent most of his life participating in therapy. He was a slow learner, had difficulty reading and writing, and was usually viewed as making poor decisions within the family. He also had difficulty reading and writing. There is no doubt that Harry yelled, "I will stamp my little feet and marry her anyway," in response to the demand made by royal protocol that he obtain permission before marrying Meghan. If she had been in the past, the Queen would not have had to deal with any problems. In the event that Meghan had cast a spell on Harry, who was unable to defend himself, she would have been accused of being a witch, and would have been burned as a witch herself. This would have resulted in Harry being placed in a deep dungeon, and provided with food and drink for a length of time. To get what he wanted, Harry married an awakened monster whose ego could fill a whole room. However, those days were hard to live up to, so in order to get what he wanted, Harry married the monster. The extravagant wedding, which cost many millions of dollars, was a beautiful event that was attended by millions of people. However, despite the fact that it seems as though the Queen made a mistake on this particular occasion, she was kind and went above and above to ensure that Meghan was satisfied. We can assume that William is saying, "This is it," at this moment. The woman infuriated William, who had an unbreakable commitment to his younger brother. William's devotion to his younger brother was unwavering. It would be meaningless to continue mentioning her bullying, and how disrespectful she was to everyone who attempted to help her. She became a royal, and a rather nasty one at that. She transformed into a royal. Meghan's misunderstanding of the royal family might be seen in this way. They gave her complete freedom to be herself, but instead of taking a step, she went a mile, leaving them all in complete shock as she gradually damaged herself. They allowed her to be herself. Because she was solely interested in having things go her way, she would rage at anyone who had the audacity to refuse. In spite of the fact that Meghan was constantly trying to outdo the Queen, the press pointed out that the Queen did everything in her power to assist Meghan in adjusting to the way things are done, even going so far as to take her under her wing. If Meghan had only behaved in a more acceptable manner, she would have been able to achieve whatever she desired for the rest of her life. Her current status is that of an outsider who relies on her shrewdness to live. Maria Gonzalez is also said to have worked as a maid at their residence, fell pregnant as a result of Harry, and is now seeking the return of Lilibet's kid. This is according to rumors that circulate. This will continue to be the case until I receive word that Maria has sought the assistance of law enforcement in order to reclaim her kid. The child that Meghan is raising is the servant's child, thus she does not have any kind of contact with Archie. I am concerned that Meghan would be abusive to both the youngster and his mother. To what extent are there individuals who are able to tolerate the sight of their husbands having children of their own? Additionally, this is the harsh and repulsive Meghan. The fact that Meghan did not permit Archie to make an appearance and that there was no explanation for this child could possibly be attributed to this possibility. There is a possibility that Meghan will be subject to warranty charges after her child arrives. Additionally, are you interested in hearing what other people have to say about Meghan? At this very moment, I shall divulge it to you. A statement was made by Meghan's former boss, who claimed that she was abusive to staff members. As soon as she did not obtain what she desired, she would engage in bullying behavior, including yelling and harassing him by email. Online, you will be able to read the interview. After that, her best friend of 30 years stated that Meghan became unrecognizable after becoming famous, and that she no longer recognized her friend. Additionally, she stated that the manner in which Meghan treated her first husband was the cause of the termination of their 30-year relationship. She was not a lovely person, according to her own best friend of 30 years, who was also her best friend. She was referred to be a diva by her uncle. Her African-American relatives stated that she wanted nothing to do with them when she became famous, and her family referred to her as a bully and narcissist. According to her sister in the sorority, she bullied a girl to the point where she left the organization. Meghan was described as rude, narcissistic, and mean by her fellow student Dylan Lynch, who came out with his comments. One of the waitresses who worked at her table reported that she was abusive to the point where she caused her to cry. There have been allegations made by a few of her Canadian pals regarding the fact that Meghan entirely abandoned them after she became famous. She became too important to sit with them when she achieved a great deal of success. She continued to put her security guys' lives in jeopardy, which ultimately led to their resignation. She was instructed on how to behave, and she was warned that if she did not behave in a particular manner, it may put the lives of all of them in jeopardy. It didn't matter to her. It would appear that the lives of security guards are of no consequence. Due to the fact that Meghan Markle is famous and has friends who are also famous and well-connected, She and her public relations team are able to convince a large number of people to speak only positively about her. On the other hand, her friends, family, and employees all agree that she takes advantage of people in order to advance her social standing, and then abandons them. There is a strong desire among Meghan Markle to have the entire world believe that she is the next Princess Diana. She desires for the entire world to have the perception that she is a kind, sympathetic, and kind person. The very thought of this makes me want to throw up. Princess Diana, the next in line, the qualities of love, compassion, and kindness are embodied in her. You are more akin to a fallen angel. Even the devil believed that he was an angel. Even carrying Diana's slippers was not a task that Meghan was capable of doing. Who was it that drove her to such a madness? It would be best to place her in a mental health facility. It is absurd to be a D-list actor but to delude yourself into believing that you are a star. It is likely that Meghan earned a great deal of praise from people whom she had just a limited acquaintance with when she appeared in a few supporting roles in a few films. She has a fondness for people, is very curious about them, and is concerned about them. In spite of this, I have been told that she has a short fuse, that she tosses things, that she insults, smears, swears, and looks down on other people. Her attacks on her sister-in-law are a perfect illustration of the bitter insanity that she possesses. The family of her husband is the target of her public insults. She has made allegations that Harry's family is toxic, bigoted, and self-centered, particularly with regard to their financial situation. Although comparable issues have been experienced by her own family, the royal family is not the only target of this. A great number of other people are as well. Other people are frequently left wondering what took place or why anything like this is taking place. With her new work on Suits, she has undergone a transformation. Her ex-husband is still upset with her. He does not consider her a friend, and he is adamant about not having any contact with her. The rings are returned to him by FedEx and she walks away from the marriage, leaving him with additional questions that he has not been able to address. Not a single attempt at reconciliation. There will be no communication other than through friends or attorneys. The situation does not have a peaceful conclusion, a long goodbye or closure, whereby a narcissistic person is involved. Everything revolves around the drama. It will never be possible to forget Meghan's shady history. Choosing Meghan was a genuine blind decision on Harry's part. Well, that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching our video. And what do you think about this horrifying act of Harry? Please express your opinion in the comments below. Hope you will always be cheerful and happy. Don't forget to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Goodbye and see you again in the next videos.